let us proceed. So I want to start off by thanking everyone for taking the time to be here today, especially our three of our wonderful students who have taken some time out of our very busy finals week to join us today. And so I greatly appreciate that sacrifice on their part. Just to introduce myself quickly before we begin, my name is William Stover. I am a professor of the humanities and the dean of students at the Collegium. This semester, I've been teaching Latin and Roman civilization, which we've had quite a bit of fun with, as I'm sure the students can attest. We had a final earlier today, in fact. But before we dive into the sort of topic for today, I just want to open with a quick prayer. And it seems appropriate in light of the institution to do it in Latin. So I'm now going to pray a quick Our Father in Latin for the benefit and intentions of both the participants and anyone tuning in today. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Pater noster, qui es in celis, sanctificetur nomen tuum, adveniat regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua, sicut in cielo et in terra. Panem nostrum quotidianum da nobis hodie, dimitte nobis debita nostra, sicut nos dimittabis debitoribus nostris, et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Amen. And we just ask God's blessing and the abundant graces of the Blessed Virgin for all the attendees and participants today. And without further ado, then let's get started. So before we hit the fun part when the students get to talk, I just want to give a sort of quick overview of who we are as an institution. And Bridget, please jump in with any questions you have or clarifications. I'm always happy to go into specifics. But to sum up, the Collegium is a undergraduate liberal arts college, which in many ways is unique along several lines. We offer an education and a formation that is faithful, affordable, and classical. We strive to present a natural continuation of the wonderful liberal arts movement that has really taken off at the lower levels of education in elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools around the country, and which we saw sort of lagging behind in higher education. And of course, institutions like Colby Academy and the wonderful Catholic homeschooling movement that has been flourishing are a huge part of that. And we are very eager to establish a good relationship and a sort of partnership with those levels, because we've designed this program to really be a continuation of the excellent formation that institutions like the Colby Academy have been providing. So I'll start with the last of those points, which is classical. Our curriculum is based on the centuries, or really millennia old model of the liberal arts education as originally conceived by not only the great thinkers of the medieval ages, but even the great thinkers of the ancient world, such as Aristotle. That is an education which, as its topic, takes the overarching study of the human experience, including humanity's history, the physical world in which we live, and the natural laws of reality that bind us in that physical world, and strives to provide students with the tools to interact with and learn from those things, and to apply that learning to all facets of their life. So moving through the traditional topics of grammar, logic, and rhetoric, we seek to equip students with the ability to learn, the ability to deduce and to reason, and the ability to pass on information and become educators and leaders in their own right, if not formally, then in their personal lives. And we apply these processes not only to human history and human experience, but to the natural and physical sciences, and ultimately to philosophy and theology, those things which we cannot see and touch with our physical senses, but which are just as real and just as able to be learned about and studied and perceived through our higher faculties. We embrace the traditional vision of the Catholic Church, the unchanging magisterium and teachings that have shaped not only this particular course of study, but have shaped the faith of thousands of saints and faithful Catholics throughout the generations, and have shined as a beacon of truth to a world which is awash in sin and darkness. We take great care to always model our curriculum with the ultimate goal in mind that education for us is not just a accumulation of facts and data, but rather it is a formation of the human person that has as its ultimate goal the salvation of souls by equipping young Catholics to be faithful, productive, and evangelistic members of society who can bring that truth, the truth of God revealed in the Catholic Church, to society at large and themselves become beacons of that truth to the world. So our program is more than just a series of courses. It is a formation that equips students for life in the world, both intellectually as well as practically through our work and internship program, which we talked a lot about during the last Colby cast I was on, and our spiritual formation, which we'll be delving a good bit into momentarily. So I want to sort of divide this into three pillars: the prayer life of the community, the academic life of the community, and I couldn't think of a better way to phrase this, and it sounds silly, the community life of the community. So if I could ask Rachel to engage with me for a few moments here about our prayer life and about the musical character of our life here and the integration there. Rachel, are you with me?
Yep.
Excellent, excellent. So if you would, could you sort of describe for our listeners the communal prayer life we have here at the Collegium?
Yes. So our community is very prayerful. There's plenty of opportunities to practice the faith. So every day of our weekdays, we have lauds, which we sing. So we go down to the church, and that's actually it's between two of our morning classes, which is nice. So it gives a little break, time to set aside in the morning for God. And then we also have vespers in the evening that we sing. And before that, we pray the rosary. And before each meal, and then at noon and 6, we sing the Angelus as well. So in one of our classes, our music history, we have learned a little bit about the music of the church and Gregorian chant, and we have been able to apply this in vespers and lauds, and even when we sing the Angelus, because we are reading the music of this ancient chant and being able to partake in such rich tradition that way. And I guess additionally in the music side, we have a schola, which sings at Mass every other week. And we have been able to sing from various time periods in church history. And so that's been really neat and a way to grow in my faith, and also as a musical person, been a way to unite those two aspects of my life.
Wonderful. And I'm sure Rachel is probably too humble to say this, but we actually last weekend had an absolutely beautiful solemn Advent Vespers in our local parish church, and Rachel has performed some absolutely beautiful pieces.
Thank you. It's been fun being in the group that we have this year. It's been impressive how Dr. Shaver, who leads the school, has been able to put our group together in such a short amount of time.
Excellent. If you could, I wondered if you could say a little bit about sort of your own background with music and prayer, and how the program here has, I certainly hope helped bring those things to sort of a fruition at a higher level in terms of integrating prayer and music into the daily life.
Yeah, so for music, I guess generally speaking, for me, I play the violin, and I've played for the past about 8 years or so. Played in different orchestras and taken lessons, and also have been sung in my high school choir. I think it's really nice that the Collegium has provided the opportunity to delve into sacred music more, and just that it has that purpose of all of everything we do, I mean, even beyond the music, is for the glory of God. And so yeah, being able to explore that, but I have been other options as well that are not all just doing sacred music. So I've been able to maintain that part of my music life. So I'm still taking lessons, and I'm doing some music theory as well here. Let's see. And with prayer life, yes. So I had not sung Lauds or Vespers before coming here, so it's been really nice. I really enjoy that, and it's not only a break between classes in the day, not only just a time set aside, but I really feel that it has provided the opportunity to be surrounded by the richness of the traditions of the church, to really understand what the church really has to offer in the ways of prayer life. So yeah.
Thank you. And I think it's worth pointing out that there's a very good reason that the traditional liberal arts education included as one of its topics music, because music is sort of the study of number in time, and it relies on the human senses and the interaction of the human person with number to create something that is beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, and gives glory to God. And this is the kind of integration that we really focus on, is that different topics aren't just a subject that you study and you learn some facts or data about, but rather they're all elements of this formation where you learn to engage with God's creation in different ways. So I obviously have not been in your music history class, but I wonder if you could say a little bit about some of the types of things you've done in that class.
Let's see. Well, we have learned about we've started this particular course is based on chant and some early polyphony. So we have learned the different notation styles that were used like hundreds, long ago in the early church, and the nature of chant as it being meditative and not as strictly rhythmic, so that you can so that the music flows, and how the text interacts with the melodies, to bring out certain things, like for example, one of the pieces there, the chant melody might rise and go higher, and the text that corresponds with it has to do with God's mercy or something ascending, and just to bring out the beauty and the glory of what the text is saying about God, and how that is mirrored in the music. We've gone through that, and we studied some polyphony, and throughout the ages how that has changed, and how sometimes in history how the music has dialed up to try to match the ages, and how the church has had to bring it back, because it's the sole purpose of music as being the handmaid of the liturgy is to serve as its meditative purpose and to really glorify God. It's not about us, it's about him and reflecting his beauty.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Well, we have a question here. We have a second question. Excellent. Well, so the first one, Tony asks if, as someone who currently attends the Novus Ordo Mass, if he'll be able to fit in the community. And certainly from my perspective, I would say the answer is a resounding yes, but I would wonder if the students wanted to chime in there.
I would say absolutely yes. I grew up attending a Novus Ordo Mass. That's still where I go with my family most weeks when I'm home. I love the Latin Mass, but there's not one really close to my house. So, but I would say there are a lot of us who grew up attending the Novus Ordo Mass and are just now getting into the Latin Mass. So I think there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to fit into the community, because a lot of us have the same experience.
And I believe several of you attend the daily Novus Ordo Mass at our local parish, right?
Yes. Yeah. So there is a daily mass, and that's Novus Ordo, and I'd say it's a very reverent Novus Ordo. And I agree with what Mary said. I also attended the Novus Ordo for a long time before I found out about the Latin Mass. And I'd say here at the Collegium, I'd say yes, you would definitely fit in. And I think that the curriculum and just the environment is really conducive to understanding and growing an appreciation of just the beauties that the church has to offer. So in the traditional Latin Mass, just showing you what has been passed on through the ages and what beauty it has to offer.
Excellent. Thank you. And the second question, and I promise it's not a silly question, even though the asker prefaced it with that. If I don't know how to chant or have a good voice, will the Collegium show me how to chant? And once again, the answer to that is certainly a resounding yes. Our founder, Dr. Schaefer, who is a professional musician, has spent much of his career teaching music and is very willing to work with people where they're at the level they're at, to help them reach the point they want to reach in terms of being able to participate musically. But if, like myself, you're completely musically untalented and don't want to subject everyone to your attempts at singing, that's certainly not a disqualifier or a problem in any way. Where we strive to help people cultivate their interests and talents, but it's singing is not a requirement for participation in our program. Excellent. Thank you. Bridget, did you have anything you wanted to add or ask regarding the prayer life and the music program?
I don't think so. I think you did a great job covering it. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Then with that, we will move on to the second of our three pillars, which is the academic life here, which I've already said a decent amount about. It's a integrated program that tries to teach not a series of separate and isolated topics or subjects, but rather tries to build a foundation for students that allows them to engage ultimately with any topic they should choose. And to build that foundation, we rely on the traditional educational methods of the liberal arts, the education in grammar, logic, and rhetoric, which open up the doors of human communication and the natural sciences and ultimately philosophy, theology, that allow students to take those tools and apply them both to the natural world around them and the unseen truths which we hold as Catholics. So for this topic, I'll be engaging with Mary here. And so I wondered if you could just say a little bit about the types of classes we have in our program here, Mary.
Absolutely. So this semester, we were taking Aristotle's philosophy of nature, also Aristotelian logic, and which is a lot of Aristotle. But we're also taking music history, Latin, Catholic seminar, and Roman history, taught by Mr. Stoker. I think I'm obligated now to say that's my favorite. But I really find it interesting the way the classes work together. As Mr. Stover said, everything, instead of being separate pieces, and there's no real connection between your classes, I've found there's a lot of overlap, and the courses really work together, which is nice because if you're, say, when we're taking our Latin class, when in music history, especially when we were learning how to sing the office is sung in Latin. So there's a huge crossover there. And we'll see a lot of the same topics come up in different classes, but in a different light. So it really helps to give a more well-rounded perspective to everything we're learning.
Excellent. Thank you. And what I was going to actually ask you what your favorite class was. So you sort of preempted me on that one.
I actually do enjoy your class very much.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. So since you're the expert in the room, since you wrote that excellent blog post, I wonder if you could say a little bit about the transition from homeschooling to our program here.
Of course. So I was homeschooled my entire life before coming here, kindergarten through 12th grade. So obviously transitioning to like a more structured program where you go to classes with other people was going to be a bit odd. But I found the transition was actually a lot smoother than I expected it to be, because a lot of the Collegium has a lot of the same values that my parents strove to have in their homeschooling. So with our homeschool, my parents taught to mastery. It was much more important to them that we understood exactly what was going on before we moved on to the next topic. So they weren't hugely obsessed with testing and grades. So obviously, when you move to a college environment, you're going to be tested and grades are important, but they're not the most important thing. The most important thing is still understanding the material. And I found that there is a big emphasis on that in this program as well. The teachers here are definitely always happy to explain things. They, even in class, I find that the explanations are very clear and there's a lot of student engagement. But if you don't understand something, you can always go to your professor and ask them to explain it to you, because they want you to understand, they want you to succeed. They don't want you just to be memorizing material for the test. I definitely ambushed Mr. Stover several times to get him to explain something to me, and I've always received a lot of very good answers.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So wow, we're getting quite a list of questions here. So I will start to address these. So is it a problem if I don't have any previous education on Aristotle, classics, etc.? Is there a placement exam or test to see if I'm a good fit academically? So I'll start to answer this and then pass it off to the students. So there is not a prerequisite of already having a background in Aristotle classics. In terms of exams, we accept any of the test score systems for applicants. So, SAT, ACT, the CLT, we've had a partnership with, and all we require is an intellectual curiosity, a desire to learn more. You don't have to already have mastered Aristotle, which is a very good thing, because if that was a requirement, I wouldn't have a job. But we simply desire our students to have a intellectual drive to learn and to succeed, rather than having a specific background. So I'll just open this up to the students here. Did all of you have a background in Aristotle before coming here?
I did. My high school taught Aristotle for all 4 years.
Oh wow, that's actually quite impressive. As a sort of student perspective, do you think that the background would be necessary?
In my opinion, not really, because we will go over it in class, and if you do not understand something, you have the freedom to ask what you're confused about, or if you are unsure about something, you can definitely ask. There's no judgment in any way if you don't know something. So I don't think you have to have a good background about Aristotle.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Let's see. I'll just address this one quickly. So what's the next step? Who should I contact to get more information? So I will go ahead and drop our website, which has a contact form in the chat box momentarily, as well as I'll also put in a specific email address to contact. And we are very happy to hear from anyone with questions, requests for specific information, we're happy to arrange visits for people who are interested in applying. In fact, we strongly encourage people to come and check out our program and sort of participate for a day in our community life here. So I will put all those things in the chat momentarily. Okay, so let's see. What does the day-to-day schedule look like? So I'll just open this up to the students and get their take on it, since I imagine that's probably a little bit more relevant to people than what my schedule looks like. Yeah, Rachel?
Well, I'm sure it changes based on semester. But this semester on Mondays, we have 2 classes in the morning. So we start off with philosophy, and then we at 8:15, and then we have LODs, and then we go into logic, and then we have lunch after that, and then just some time in the afternoon. So that's when you do your homework and anything else that you need to get done. And then we have Vespers every day at 5, and Rosary. So, and then dinner follows after. Our Tuesdays are a little busier. We have 4 classes on those days, but it's a similar schedule in the sense we have a morning class, then LODs, then another morning class, lunch, and then that on those days there'd be 2 classes following, and then some time before LODs, Vespers, and dinner. Rosary, Vespers, and dinner. There's also the Schola rehearsals that we have. So we have those on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Let's see. And our Thursdays are very...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
If I could just add something to that. So we have a work study program that's a part of the integrated program at the Collegium. So we don't actually have classes on Wednesdays. So a lot of people choose to do their work study then or divide it between Wednesday and Monday afternoon. We each do 8 hours a week for the work study.
Okay, excellent. Does anyone wanted to add anything to that? No. Very good. And then the last one right now, question for the students: what made you choose to attend the Collegium? How has it formed you overall as an adult preparing to enter the world? So I once again just open this up to the students here. I will add the sort of the caveat first that these are all first-year students, so they've only been with us for a few months.
I guess I...
Oh, sorry, Rachel, did you want to go?
You go.
Okay. So in my personal life, how this school is like, I chose this school because of my faith and for my prayer life, to be closer with God. And like so far, it's really helping me to see that like it's really prepared me for being more independent and being away from my family, because my family lives in a completely different state than I do right now. So it makes that a little bit better, because then it's like, what's the word? Like it's good to like have like separation, and it's nice to grow by yourself. So I think by moving away, it's personally helped me a lot grow as an individual who's independent now and really focusing on my faith and everything still, which is really important for me. So that's my personal experience.
Thank you. Rachel?
I agree with that, what Petra said. I would say, well, when I was looking at colleges, I was looking for something pretty particular. I looked a lot, I was looking for a Catholic liberal arts, a smaller school that would be academic challenging and really true to the truths of the faith. So I was looking at the Newman Guide, and so I was looking at these more authentic Catholic colleges. But when I found out about the Collegium, it's definitely a different place. Not one that you'll find, and I think it's very special, especially the fact that it's very centered on the traditions of the faith and like the traditional Latin Mass. Because when I looked at other schools, while they did have an emphasis on the Catholic faith, my experience here has shown me that the Collegium really does embrace it in every aspect of the college life here. So yeah, and it's also fit the bill of being academic challenge, being a great community, and like Pedro said, having that really good faith life, lots of opportunity to grow. And so in addition to what Pedro said about growing in the faith, I'd also say academically, I have learned so much in the past couple months here. And I think different ways I have been able to apply what I have learned to my life, which it's been really neat to see that play out.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rachel. Mary, did you want to add anything?
Sure. So I think part of the Collegium was the integrated program and the community aspect. When I was looking at colleges, I didn't necessarily like how you would have one class and then a completely different class, and you'd have them with each class, you'd have a completely different students, a different teacher. You might never have the same group twice. So what intrigued me about the Collegium was that everyone takes all of the same classes, everyone has all of the same teachers. And so that really, and we all have meals together, et cetera. So I think it really has helped us grow as a class, and I guess that's it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, more questions. Do you feel like the work study program with the classes is too much? Mary, do you want to tackle this?
Sure. Personally, I do not. I'm very happy with my work study. I think it's a reasonable amount of time spent, especially with this semester, because we do have Monday afternoon off. I'm able to do half my hours Monday afternoon and half my hours Wednesday morning. So I'm quite happy with my work study. It doesn't take some extra planning to kind of budget your time so that you can still have time to study for all of your classes. I've also found that, at least with my employer, they've been fairly flexible. For instance, normally I would have worked this Monday, but they allow me to have some time off to study for exams.
Excellent, thank you. And what kind of work study opportunities are there? So since you're still on, Mary, do you want to tell us about your job?
Sure. So I work at an insurance company. I basically do filing for their clients. I send out like all the paper stuff that people need to get. Basically, I just make my boss's job easier so she doesn't have to do all the busy work. But I'm also learning a lot about the insurance business from the ground level and seeing how things kind of fit together.
Great. Petra, Rachel, do you want to chime in?
Sure. For my jobs, I actually have two jobs. One, I work at the local Catholic school that's right up the street from us, St. Mary's School. It's a really great program because I get to work with kids, and I personally love kids, so it's like kind of a dream job in a way. But they really currently I'm helping a teacher out, and it really shows you what teaching, if teaching was your thing, or you wanted to be a teacher, it really shows you how a teacher and a student work together in a way. You really get good experience by watching and learning how other people teach their students. It's really helpful because I know I wanted to be a teacher, so this is a good experience to see if I still wanted to do this or not in life. And for my second job, I am the person who runs all of the social media pages for the Collegium. So I'll post 3 times a week about how our program is, what our students have been doing this week. Like for instance, like this week I posted a couple pictures, like it's finals week, please pray for us. Like, and it was just us having like a picture of our presentation. So those are my jobs. They're really fun, and definitely you really learn a lot from the jobs here.
Yeah, I'll just hop in here for a second. Some of the other jobs students are currently doing is one is learning watchmaking. They're working in a watchmaking school, which does both production as well as repair, and they're doing a sort of apprenticeship program, learning how watches are made and repaired. We have someone in property management. So we're always trying to cultivate relationships with local employers to provide a sort of broad range of opportunities. And we can't promise that every student will get their sort of first pick, but we do try to match up students with things that they potentially would be interested in pursuing professionally, if they're so inclined. Some students just prefer to have a job that they sort of perform and is not related to what they're intending to do. But if possible, we'd like to give students the opportunity to learn more about some field they're interested in. And this program has a couple of sort of motivations behind it. In the first place, it is good for personal development, sort of like the students mentioned, with having to find balance between putting time aside to do your homework and do your work study. It helps cultivate a level of responsibility that you need going into adulthood, the ability to balance different responsibilities and tasks. We also hold to the traditions of Benedictine spirituality, that hard work is itself a spiritually beneficial exercise, since of course ora et labora, pray and work, are the cornerstones of the whole Benedictine life there. And on a more practical note, these work study programs help us to keep the cost of attendance extremely low for a 4-year program. Okay, another question. I listened to the podcast and heard a little bit about this, but do you find that the meals are pretty healthy and have good variety? So currently, the way our meal system is set up is we have an ongoing relationship with a series of local restaurants that we rotate through, and students submit orders to an online system, and then the orders are sent over to the restaurant. So the restaurants change each day, and students are able to choose the meals from the menu that they want. As we grow in the future, the system will have to be tweaked, because eventually we'll be of a size that we can't all fit in the back room of a restaurant. But for the moment, that's how we're doing the meals, and so it provides a lot of variety of types of things, since we're going to different sorts of restaurants every day. But I'll just open this up to the students about the meals and how they find them.
I would say it's a really good variety of things you can choose from, because you can either choose to have you can have your salad, or you can have your cheeseburger. Like, it's a really good option, to have the different varieties and choices of where we go, because you can try different things and things like that. So I think it's a really good thing for our school.
And if as part of my responsibilities, the dean of students, I also solicit feedback from the students about the different restaurants, and sometimes there's a sort of a interest in changing the schedule a little bit to move something around, because maybe one place has better options for Fridays without meat or whatever. So it's very much the schedule is driven by sort of the desires of the students when I solicit that feedback. And yeah, there's certainly a lot of options, which some people exercise. Other people tend to have a certain thing they like at each place and always order that. Right, Rachel?
Yeah.
So it's it could be, yeah, it can be as varied as the students choose to make it. Okay, great. So if there's no other questions about the academics or the sort of schedule stuff, then I want to move on to our third sort of topic, which is about the community life outside of those sort of scheduled classes and community prayer and stuff. What do the students do with their time outside of the sort of prescribed activities? Petra?
Um, well, like Mary said, we work, we can work on Mondays and Wednesdays, so that takes up some time for a bit of things. But we do a lot of like games together. We'll play a lot of games when we have free time. Like we'll play card games or we'll have a trivia night. I remember the first like week of school, we had a Jeopardy night. But we can like have our own time to do homework and everything. But I've seen personally, like I love spending time with the people here because we all hang out, we all have fun together. So a lot of us really like to just chill out and hang out with each other a lot of the days.
Excellent. And we also take trips together, usually twice a semester. We have a day that is normally a class day, but which is scheduled for what we call COG, class on the go, where we take some sort of group trip that can be sort of specifically educational. So we could go to a museum or something like that, or it could be still educational in a sense, but a little bit less directly. It could be going out to see some of the beauties of the natural world. So we had a kayaking trip before it got cold here, because it does get pretty cold in Maryland, where we went through sort of Antietam battlefield on the Antietam Creek and got out and got some fresh air. I actually got heat stroke, but that's just a reflection on my own lack of proper hydration, not on the kayaking itself. And we had a trip, sort of a little pre-finals recreational trip just last week, which Mary, do you want to tell us about last week's trip?
Sure. So we went to the Civil War Medicine Museum, saw a lot of very interesting things, some very strange things as well. Very educational. Learned a lot about Civil War medicine, possibly more than certain people wanted to.
I
But
think it's a fair assessment.
yeah,
We also have quite a few like potential musical trips, or we'll take a group trip to the symphony or some other musical performance. Here in Hagerstown, Maryland, we're quite fortunate that there are quite a few opportunities along that regard. Hagerstown has one of I think only 2 symphony orchestras in the state, city symphony orchestras. So there are frequent opportunities for musical outings as well, which goes back to what we said about the importance we place on music as a reflection of the glory and beauty of God's creation. I think I'll just open up to all 3 of you here. And what are some of your favorite parts of the community life we live together here?
I would say knowing that we are all striving for the same things. Having the Catholic background and knowing that we all chose to come here. We all are interested in learning. Uh, we have those common values, and I think that is something that is very key in giving us that underlying connection. I think the small group, so the small, I mean, obviously we'll grow from here, but having the small community and having meals, and so praying together, having our meals together, learning together, I think really has helped bring us together. So we have um, many things we enjoy together, and many jokes we share. And I think, yeah, just that overall
Yeah.
has been really
Well,
fun.
even though Old Testament is not one of the classes that I teach, it does remind me of that verse from Proverbs, I believe, about, how iron sharpens iron, so man sharpens man. And I think there is something to be said for the power of having a group of people together who are united by a similar pursuit. Really allows the whole group to thrive and flourish in that pursuit. Let's see. Mary, what about you?
Well, I will say one thing I was worried about coming here was it's going to be a very small class. What if there's that one person that just nobody can stand? And fortunately, that is not the case. I actually get along really well with every other student, which is kind of miraculous in a way. But I think that what Rachel said is very true. A lot of us are here for the same reason. We have common values. And because of that, we also all have similar backgrounds. A lot of us were homeschooled, or a lot of us went to private school. Because we're all here for the same reason, we actually get along really well. And even though people have different interests and like different, I guess, like ways of being, ways of expressing themselves, because we kind of have that common ground, I guess we just all get along really well. And I love everybody's quirks, I guess. We're all kind of weird, but that's great.
Excellent. Thank you. And Petra?
Yeah, I agree with both Mary and Rachel. Having a small class can really benefit everybody, because over like the past 4 months, all of us have gotten to be so close and such great friends. It's really great to share your faith with someone who shares the same values and the same interests as you. It's a really good community here, and I really love it. And I am personally going to be very sad when we all go home for Christmas break next week, because I will miss all of you guys. Because we all hang out together and we all spend so much time together, we really grow and bond together, not only in a friendship way, but in a faith way. So we all kind of grow together.
It definitely has that family feel.
Excellent. Great. Thank you very much. So I know we already heard from Mary on this topic, but I thought we'd move from here and just talk a little bit more about the sort of adjustment from your previous life to college, which in many ways is a really pivotal sort of transitional phase from childhood to adulthood. And it can be scary and overwhelming. I know, coming from a homeschooling background myself, I was very apprehensive about going off to college for the first time. So I wondered if we could hear a little bit more about how that transition has gone for you, and what has sort of helped smooth that passage. Rachel, do you want to start off?
Sure. I can't speak from homeschooling because I was never homeschooled. I know a lot of people here were. I came from a Catholic private high school. I would say for me, the transition actually was decently smooth. I felt my high school prepared me very well for coming to the Collegium, as of the workload and just the type, like the idea of liberal arts, because my high school tried in however how much you can so far you can go for liberal arts in a high school environment. So just general things of what to expect. There's still that element of uncertainty and adjustment because you're on your own now, and there's that more independence. But I think because it's a smaller environment, and the teachers and just even among the students, we're all there to help each other, was very helpful in making the transition easier.
Wonderful. Thank you. Petra?
Yeah, I can agree with what Rachel said. I went to public school for most of my life, and then I did private high school. So I am used to the smaller classes, and I find it to be very beneficial because you do get that a more one-on-one time with your teacher as well. So I'm kind of used to this. So for me, it's just, I get along with everybody, and it's really nice to get along with all your classmates in such a small school.
It's actually kind of remarkable just knowing what the breakdown is, that two of our three students here today were not homeschooled. That is not the fraction that holds for the whole student body. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Looks like I've got a question here. Sorry, this is off topic, but if I'm thinking of pre-med, how will I fulfill the requirements of medical schools? That is an excellent question. Thank you very much. So the sort of broad answer is that this is something we have to handle on a case-by-case basis. We actually right now have a very interested applicant who is planning on doing med school. And so our curriculum obviously takes care of some of the elements one needs, but there are certain classes that are required for admission to a medical school, and there are opportunities in the area. We have Hagerstown Community College, which we have a certain relationship with, and there are other institutions in the area as well that do offer the required courses, and we are happy to do everything we can to facilitate students taking those courses. Many of them can be taken either over the summer or in the evening. So it's something that sort of has to be addressed on a case-by-case basis with each individual student, but it is something that has come up and that we are very aware of and are working on providing ways for students to complete those specific technical requirements they would need for pre-med. But there's not sort of a specific one size fits all answer to that. It's something we have to look at what specific requirements will need to be fulfilled, as well as the schedules of individual students to see when those classes can be fit in, evening, summer, et cetera. But it's an issue that we have had to deal with it. We had to deal with already. And so it's something that we have an ongoing sort of conversation about and process to find solutions for. Okay, excellent. Well, that about concludes the sort of main topics I wanted to hit. So I'll just sort of sum up here what we're really about, which is same thing as I opened with, which is about what we're trying to do in this institution is to form students not just as educated people who have who've taken some courses and know some information, but trying to form students as adults who are faithfully Catholic, academically proficient, intellectually curious, and able to go out into the world and engage with the world, professionally and spiritually in a way which is beneficial to society as a whole. We're interested in making students who can really be evangelists for that true evangelization of bringing the light of the God's truth out into the world effectively. And part of that is being effective and successful members of society. So our education tries to give students the tools that they will need to succeed in whatever career they choose, but also to reinforce and strengthen the Catholic faith, which they'll need to guide them through whatever course they choose in life. So if there are no more questions, I just want to thank Petra and Mary and Rachel for taking the time during finals week to be with us tonight. Bridget, is there anything you wanted to add or address before we close for the evening?
I don't think so. That was great. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time again out of your busy week. And I hope that the rest of your finals go well and that Advent season continues to go well, and you guys have a great Christmas season when it gets here. If you don't mind
Wonderful.
blessing us with a prayer, that'd be great.
Absolutely. And first, I just want to thank both the participants and the attendees. Thank you for joining us this evening. And I put in the chat both our website and the email address for Dr. Edward Schaefer, who is the founder, who you are welcome to reach out to with specific questions or requests for information. And if you do have something you're curious in, I encourage you to reach out. We are always happy to provide whatever information we can, and also happy to have visitors if you'd like to check out our program and see what we're about. So with that, I will close with an Ave Maria for the intentions of all the participants tonight and for the salvation of the world. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Thank you all very much for joining us. This has been wonderful, and I look forward to hopefully hearing from some people and maybe even seeing you all on a visit. So have a wonderful and blessed remainder of the Advent season and a joyful and splendid Christmas and New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Have a great night.